Myself, Dr. Kiran Kumar Gaddi, welcome you all to my channel Exploring Mathemedica. If you like the channel, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell so that you will receive further videos. On April 10th, 2021, as a tribute to Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, I presented to you Mathematica Pura Volume 1, a review. Now I am presenting to you a review on Mathematica Pura Volume 2 by Samuel Hahnemann. Let us know what are the contents in Mathematica Pura Volume 2. Firstly, we are having nota bene for my reviewers, examination of the source of the common Mathematica, followed by the reminiscence, the medical observer, a fragment, and how can small dose of such very attenuated medicine as homeopathy employs still possess great power. So coming to the first content, nota bene for my reviewers has been taken from volume 3 of second edition, which was published in 1825. So in this, Hahnemann expresses the enmity that the allopathic doctors had for his Mathematica Pura volume 1. So to show how much enmity the better healing art had to endure from the allopathic doctors up to the year 1817, the following lines may be allowed to remain in the second edition, all the more because during the last 7 years until now there has been no lack of public illuminators of the truth and of its founders. So in Mathematica Pura volume 1, a portion came to the doctrine entitled Spirit of the Homeopathic Medical Doctrine. For the opposition to the homeopathic doctrine, Hahnemann says that the doctrine is a verdict of experience. As you all know that Hahnemann came to the conclusion of law of similars not just by sitting on a table, it is by his regular experimentation and his experience which made him to come to the law of similars, that which he called as the doctrine of homeopathy. And this he got because of the repeated experiments which were done carefully and accurately by Dr. Hahnemann himself. And you will find the doctrine confirmed at every step. He says that you try this doctrine and every step you can confirm it. And the doctrine insists upon being judged by the result. So just don't read and believe the doctrine. You can judge the doctrine by getting the results. So Hahnemann says for the people who opposed to follow the direction of Organon in treating the sick, take one case after another and administer pure and unmixed the most appropriate homeopathic medicine substance in a dose as small as this doctrine directs, taking care to remove all other kinds of medicine in just for infection. So this is what Hahnemann urges the oppositors to follow and then to believe the doctrine. If it does not give relief, speedy, mild, and permanent, then you can give a public refutation of this doctrine which so seriously threaten the old darkness. And if all that homeopathic doctrine promises from being faithfully followed out does not take place, the homeopathy is as good as lost. So if the doctrine does not give the what is expected out of it, then homeopathy is as good as lost. So here Hahnemann questions the people who have opposed the doctrine. Do you know any other more potent method for suppressing the accursed doctrine with its truth that cut into the very soul of the dogmatists of ancient and modern times? Coming to the second content of Mathematica Pura Volume 2 is nothing but examination of the source of the common Mathematica, which has been taken from Volume 3 of second edition 1825. In this, Hahnemann wants the medical practitioner to know what there is to cure in each particular case and what each of the remedies can certainly cure. So for this, 23 centuries have been spent in fruitless labor to know these two truths, that is, what is there to cure in each particular case and what each of the remedies can certainly cure. So in the common source of Mathematica, Hahnemann talks about the first source of Mathematica, which has come out just because of a mere guesswork and fiction and from general therapeutic virtues of the drugs. So here Dioscorides has divided the drugs into resolvent, deobstruent, diuretic, diaphoretic, emmenagogue, sedative, antispasmodic, cathartic. So these are the drugs which are just merely palliative, which is having a passing effect, and it is followed by the opposite effect. And these drugs were not administered singly to know the individual effect. They were administered in combination with the others, due to which we cannot elicit what is the effect of the single drug. The second source of metamedica that Hanuman talks about is ascribed to the sensible properties from which their action may be informed. That is, Hanuman talks here about doctrine of signature. For example, the testicle-shaped orchis root to restore the manly vigor, the phallus empiricus to strengthen the weakened erections, yellow turmeric to cure jaundice, hypericum elophovars on crushed yield red juice, which is for hemorrhages and wounds. Hanuman says it's quite foolish to guess the powers of medicines by the smell and taste. And as we know that cinchona bark was found to have bitter and astringent taste, and this was quite enough for them to judge its inward powers. Hanuman says doctrine of signature does not give the slightest information about the dynamic powers of the medicinal substances. Just by the color, by the smell, taste, and the appearance, we cannot come to know the total dynamic powers of the medicinal substances. And the powers of the medicinal substances can be revealed only when taken internally to act directly on vital functions of human organism. So Hanuman says this is the second impure source of metamedica. The third source of metamedica comes from chemistry. So chemistry as a source to which general therapeutic properties of the drugs are ascertained, that is depending on the chemical properties. But Hanuman says the effects are manifested to our senses only when they act dynamically on the susceptible spiritual animal organism in a spiritual manner. Chemistry can give us only the chemical information with respect to presence of this or that material. Chemical analysis can tell us their action with chemical reagents. It cannot show what dynamical changes it can produce when brought in contact with living organisms. So chemistry cannot be a source of metamedica just because of its chemical properties. So Hanuman comes up here with a beautiful example. He says that chemistry can give us useless information. For example, the leaves of belladonna and cabbage are similar in their chemical composition, but by this similar chemical composition, we cannot consequently declare both as innocent vegetables or equally poisonous plants. So it is quite absurd to presume the competence of medicinal powers of natural substances by their chemical nature. So now coming to the fourth source of metamedica, here employment of medicines in actual disease. So here it appears a little logical that it appears to be the most natural method of learning the power of medicine and their exact uses. But in the records, this so natural idea was never carried out. That is, the idea of giving a medicinal substance to a disease condition. In almost every instance, a mixture of medicine was employed in diseases. So when the treatment was successful, it was not possible to ascertain which ingredient of the mixture was effective. So individual medicinal property was difficult to get from this particular experimentation. Hanuman gives several examples of the mixtures that were used to treat diseases from the volumes of Hufeland's Journal, which was published in 1813, 1814, and 1815. So here, the power of curing a disease has been attributed to single drugs without their having been employed singly. So many of the examples Hanuman quotes here, where they say that the treatment has taken place because of this single drug, but in actual fact, more than one drug has been used. So we cannot be sure of the action of the particular medicine. So coming to the example from Hufeland, which was published in 1813, the ulceration of the lung has been cured by Philandrium aquatica, but Trisiligo, Seneca, and Iceland moss were used at the same time. So it is not easy to believe that only Philandrium aquatica has treated ulceration of the lung. So inveterate syphilis was cured in 4 weeks by ammonia, but along with camphor and opium. So here, which drug acted, whether it was ammonia, camphor, and opium, it is very difficult to believe, but they claim that ammonia treated syphilis. Epilepsy was cured in 14 months by valeriana alone. This is the claim, but at the same time, Oleum tartari, deliquium, Tinctura cholecynthedis, and Bas of Acorus calamus mint and other aromatic substances had been used. So here, it is difficult to believe the action of valeriana alone on epilepsy. And in another case of epilepsy, valeriana alone was claimed to be helpful in epilepsy, but along with valeriana, an ounce and a half of pomegranate leaves were used. So madness with nymphomania, which was published in 1814 in Influence Journal, was claimed to be treated only by drinking cold water alone. But along with that, infusion of valeriana and tinctura cheney vitae were administered. So it is difficult to believe that drinking cold water alone can treat madness with nymphomania. Bleeding to syncope was considered very specific for the treatment of hydrophobia by venesection, but at the same time, 300 drops of laudanum was used and mercurial ointment was applied every 3 hours. So from here, we cannot believe that only bleeding can be considered a treatment for hydrophobia. Again, we have an example of bleeding to syncope as a treatment for hydrophobia was published in August 1814. But along with that, a strong dose of opium and Fame's powder and calomel till salivation was used. So here again we cannot come to know what is the treatment or what is the medicine or the method or the methodology to be adopted for treating hydrophobia. So we have another example of hydrophobia being treated by venesection followed by syncope, which was published in April 1814 in Influence Journal. But along with that, strong dose of opium, Fame's powder, and calomel till salivation was utilized. Again, we have an example of hydrophobia, which was published in July 1815, where venesection followed by an hour of syncope was considered to be the treatment for hydrophobia. But along with that, cantharides was given, but they say it should not have been applied. Still less, mercurial ointment rubbed for every 2 hours, and large dose of calomel and opium given until salivation supervent. So here again, we do not know what treated hydrophobia. So tetanus cured by cold water affusion alone was claimed in September 1814 in Influence Journal, but along with that, opium was at the same time employed. In September 1815 in Influence Journal, croup was claimed to be treated by potash, but along with that, salt of tartar in an infusion of seneca root was also given. An old fistulous ulcer was treated by graphitis, which was published in 1815, but along with that, corrosive supplement was in the mixture. Charcoal powder was considered to treat florid pulmonary consumption, and which was published in November 1815, but along with charcoal powder, foxglove was used. Dropsy was treated by angelica root, but along with angelica root, tincture of opium, aether, and calamus was used. So we don't know really which treated dropsy, whether it is angelica root or opium or aether and calamus. Hence, it is undeniable that to ascribe any powers to a medicinal substance which was never tested purely, that is, unless along with others, consequently was as good as never tested at all, is it to be guilty of deception and falsehood. So, such a mode of testing in disease was possible only in 2 ways. That is, a single drug to be tried in all diseases to ascertain in which of them it is efficacious, or all drugs must be tried in a particular disease in order to ascertain which remedy cures it most certainly and most perfectly. So, by such trials, after many centuries, roasted sponge was the best thing for goiter, which was found in 13th century by Arnault of Villeneuve, noticed its power in curing goiter. Venereal disease treated in unsuccessful manner by many methods, and later mercury was found to treat it. Intermittent fever, after innumerable trials, was treated with cinchona. So coming to the last source of Mater Medica, that is from improved healing art, the homeopathy. So it administers no medicines to combat the disease of mankind before testing experimentally their pure effects, that is, observing what changes each can produce in the health of a healthy man. So this is pure Mater Medica. So Hanuman claims it to be pure Mater Medica because a single drug substance or a medicinal substance which is capable of altering the health of a healthy individual is administered to know its curative properties on the sick. So the power of medicine in homeopathy is known, its importance is known by the peculiar action of each drug exhibited clearly and manifestly without any fallacy and any deception independent of all speculation in their ascertained symptoms on their curative elements lie disclosed. Among them, a remedy capable of curing is selected. So at the end, Hanuman says that this doctrine of the pure effects of medicines promises no delusive fabulous remedies or names of diseases, imagines no general therapeutic virtue of drugs, but unostentatiously possesses the elements of cure for disease accurately known. So coming to the third content of Mathematical Pura Volume 2, which is taken from Volume 4, second edition of Mathematical Pura, which was published in 1825. That is reminiscence. Reminiscence is the enjoyable recollection of past events, where Hanuman says that the science of therapeutics constitutes special modes for treatment for various pathologies, whereas in homeopathy, among medicines that are tested as to their pure effects, that one alone which can produce in the healthy individual a similar morbid state is capable of transforming a given case of disease rapidly, easily, and permanently into health. Indeed, that such a medicine will never fail to cure the disease. In homeopathy, among medicines that are tested as to their pure effects, that one alone which can produce in the healthy individual a similar morbid state is capable of transforming a given case of disease rapidly, easily, and permanently into health. Indeed, that such a medicine will never fail to cure the disease. So coming to the fourth content, the Medical Observer, a fragment which is taken from Volume 4, second edition, 1825 of the Mathematical Pura. Here, Hanuman says the medical practitioner should possess the capacity and habit of noticing carefully and correctly the phenomenon that takes place in natural diseases and also in artificial diseases, that is excited by medicines, which happens during brewing, and the ability to describe them in the most appropriate and natural expressions. So this capability is never innate, but it is acquired by practice. Hanuman says that this capability can be developed by instituting medicines upon ourselves. That is, he wants a homeopathic practitioner or a physician to prove the drugs on himself so that he acquires practice to enable him to make equally accurate observations on others also. So a careful observer alone can become a true healer of diseases. The common question that everyone gets with respect to homeopathy, including homeopathic students and in the beginning homeopathic practitioners, that how can small dose of such very attenuated medicine as homeopathy employs still possess great power? This has been taken from volume 5 of second edition, which was published in 1827, Mathematica Pura. Here, in homeopathy, a small portion of medicine is succussed or triturated, that is by succussion or trituration. So this develops intimate mixture and thereby liberating dynamic powers of medicinal substances so treated, and this happens by the friction which takes place during succussion or trituration. So by homeopathic way of preparing medicines, pure gold, silver and platina, which have no action on human health in their solid state, but after trituration and succussion, the latent medicinal properties are brought into activity. So my dear friends, Mathematica Pura is Dr. Samuel Hellman's magnum opus, and it is first ever recorded Mathematica in the world, and it is a source book of all subsequent Mathematicas. A reader can go back to the origin of the symptom in the prover, and it is a wealth of knowledge. So the video is made from the Mathematica Pura Volume 2 by BJN Publishers. Thank you very much, my dear friends, for staying with me throughout the video. Hope you liked the video. If you like the video, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell so that you will receive further videos. If you like the video, please share among your friends. And learning is a continuous process, so keep learning. Thank you. Thank you once again.